One of the most popular D&D classes, the Drakewarden Ranger, is now available on console and PC in Baldur's Gate 3. This is included in the 5e Ranger subclasses combined mod made by Sumradagnoth. What's amazing about this is it's now available on PlayStation 5 and Xbox as of today. And I'll be taking you through a full level 20 build for this. There's 5 different types of elemental dragons that you can summon in. They all get the ability to do Drake's Breath here, and so do you. This is honestly the most fun version of the Ranger in the game by far, in my opinion, and I'll be taking you through everything here. Alright, so starting off at level 1 here, we got our favorite enemy. The Ranger Knight makes the most sense. Getting heavy armor on a dragon is great. Bounty Hunter is another good choice. Now, the thing is, the Wasteland Wanderer, we later on get the elemental resistance of whatever dragon that we summon in. So honestly, if you plan on using the Fire Dragon all the time, I wouldn't take this. I'd actually recommend using the Beast Tamer, especially in the early game. It gives you an extra Raven to blind enemies and also kite them around. Now, I think that going Dexterity is possibly the best choice here. In a stat spread of 16 Dex, 14 Constitution, and 16 Wisdom works. You can put 16 points into your Constitution if you prefer. And upon hitting level 2, we get access to things like Ensnaring Strike and Hunter's Mark. I also like to have Fog Cloud there if you don't like those other 2 spells. Now, defense for the +1 armor class is really nice, although archery lets us take sharpshooter and not have a big downside to our attacks, and I'd actually probably go with that just because arrows in this game are so very powerful. Level 3 is when we get to take the Drakewarden. So we actually get a cool Drake at level 1, or level 3 here. It's a small one, it doesn't have wings. This was actually a collab by Incognito Burrito as well, and they made the model not have wings. It looks amazing, and it's a little tiny, cute dragon. You also get the Thaumaturgy cantrip and Speak with Animals. It's great. And you can also take another spell here. Longstrider, Hail of Thorns, or the Fog Cloud are the best choices. And with the dragon, you get to choose what type of essence you want. So if you want the Acid Dragon, I think this one looks the coolest. It's like a dark black dragon. You can see there, it doesn't have any wings, and it's going to walk around the ground. Later on, it will fly, and it's so cool. Upon hitting level 4, we get our first feat. I think +5 to initiative from Alert is one of the best choices, although a dexterity increase on ability score improvement is great. Sharpshooter's nice, but I think it's a little bit too early for us to go with that option. Level 5 gives us our extra attack and another spell, with access to level 2 spells, some of the best being Spike Growth, and I also really like Pass Without a Trace for the +10 to stealth checks. This would be really good if you like doing stealth, otherwise Spike Growth will give you a better bang for your buck, as it is a bit of crowd control, and our dragon doesn't actually get impacted, or Drake doesn't get impacted by it. Now we get to take another favorite enemy. I guess we'll go Bounty Hunter here to hopefully land some ensnaring strikes. And since the fire one is so common, I wouldn't recommend grabbing it unless you aren't going to use a fire dragon. I'm not going to. Fire damage is the most common of those 3, so we're going to go with that. Level 7 gives us our Bond of Fang and Scale. So this is when our Drake becomes a medium-sized Drake and it can fly now. They fly now. They fly now. So it also gets the Magic Fang, which gives a additional 1d6 of whatever elemental dragon type you chose. So fire damage, cold damage, you name it. It'll later increase to a 2d6. And what's also nice about this is it makes it overcome resistances to physical damage. So, yeah, and whenever you summon in your Drake, you become resistant to that damage type. So if you summon in the cold one, you get cold resistance. And if you're medium-sized or smaller and within 3 meters of your bonded Drake, you ignore the effects of difficult terrain on most surfaces. It's great. I'll then grab Pass With a Trace or the Silent Spell. And once we get to level 8 here, that's when we get our difficult terrain. No longer slows us down with the land stride there. And then we'll go with either an increase to our dexterity here, or we could go with the sharpshooter, which I think is a little bit better. Savage Attacker, if you want to do a melee focus one, I do think that the best way to go about doing this is the long range one with sharpshooter there. Level 9 gives us a level 3 spell here, and a Lightning Arrow or Conjure Barrage being the top options. Conjure Barrage can actually use your melee weapon as well. Level 10 gives us Hide in Plain Sight, +10 to stealth checks as long as you stand still. We have the favorite enemy, which, no real best choice here. We got everything we wanted. We'll take the Sacred Flame there. And we'll go Wasteland Wanderer Poison, as that's another common damage type. And once we get our way to level 11, this is when we get our Drake's Breath. We can use it, or our Drake can do it, and it's going to do an 8d6. It'll later do a 10d6 of the elemental damage of your choosing. It doesn't have to be the same type as your Drake, however, so you can do a fire one if you have a cold dragon out. And we'll also grab Conjure Barrage or Plant Growth at this level. It's pretty nice to be able to do all that in this single class. And level 12, the final feat, if we're sticking on level 12, I will show level 20. Since this mod has support for it, I would actually recommend going with a dexterity increase at this level. Better armor class, initiative, and attack rolls with a ranged weapon. Level 13, we just get to take more spells. We'll take Plant Growth there. And as we continue to level 14, we get another one of these. Again, no real, it's whatever. Level 15 gives us some fun abilities, though. We get the Reflective Resistance. So If you or your Drake take damage and you're within 9 meters of each other, you can use a reaction to give resistance to that damage, and it can apply to either you or your dragon. There's also the improved Drake mount, so again, within 3 meters of your Drake, you get to ignore difficult terrain, and it can also carry and fly you around. And I gotta say that it looks really, really cool while it's done. And there's also the perfected bond here, so this makes the Drake large in size, and it now does a 2d6 of the elemental damage of your choosing. It's kind of cool, makes his melee attacks much more powerful. We'll grab silence there, and as we continue to level up, you will get some more choices in feats and whatnot. At this point, I personally like Crossbow Expert to do close range crossbow attacks, but it's entirely your call. Another increase to your dexterity is another great choice. Once we hit level 17, we get another reflective resistance charge, and we get another choice in spell. We'll just go Fog Cloud there. Into level 18, it's just another level. You can replace spell if you really wanted to. 19 gives us a last choice in spells, and the last choice for our feats here. And at this point, tough is typically the best for the 40 extra health, or you could go with a dexterity-based improvement if you wanted that. And then level 20, just, you know, more health. And the cool thing is you'll summon in your dragon often so you don't have to worry about calling it in. I think the Acid Dragon with this dark look here looks the coolest. And the outfit mod is Dragonflame Regalia by Arideyya on Nexus mods. And as far as equipment goes, I really like, since we took Sharpshooter, to take Mask of Soul Perception to offset that a little bit. In the early game, you can use the Haste Helmet, which will give you more movement speed. And yeah, I just think that getting the increase to our overall attack rolls is just best. Scabby Pugilist Circlet's okay if you want to do a melee focus build. Cloak Protection, Deathstalker Mantle, your choice there. The Armor of Agility will take our armor class up to 22 with this current setup. I don't have a shield on, and I'd honestly recommend going with a shield for this build. With something like Nyralna too, can give you not only a glowing appearance, but more movement speed as well. And what's great about that is it takes our armor class up to 25. My personal preference, however, is the Ballast Armor. If you want the more evil playthrough, this is great because it's going to double the piercing damage, and Sharpshooter then becomes 20 extra damage, which is kind of crazy. We also get the Helldusk Gloves for the plus 1d6 of fire damage. You can go with something like the Legacies of the Masters there for a further +2 to attack and damage rolls if you wanted a bit more guaranteed hit chance. The Crater Flesh Gloves are great too. It gives a 2d6, it says 1d6, but 2d6 because it's a crit of force damage. I got the Boots of Stormy Clamor on to apply reverberation on the enemy. Since I'm going with the Acid Dragon just for fun, I'm going to use the Acid Caustic Band here, and also the Shadow Cloaked Ring, which can give us additional damage on our attacks if we're lightly or heavy obscured. Another good choice to go with that is if you want to do a full-on darkness build, is to take the Steel Watcher helmet, which lets you see in magical darkness. And if you're a drow, you got that built in. Another thing is you could also go with the, if you're going to use darkness, use the Strange Conduit Ring, which will give you an additional 1d6 of psychic damage whenever you're concentrating on a spell. And that spell could even be something as simple as Pass Without Trace. Now, Titan String Bow is great if you got the Strength Potion or the Club of Hill Giant Strength in your offhand. But since we're going to be using the Crossbow Expert, I think it's best to go with the Handfire Hell Crossbow in the main hand and the Fire Stoker in the offhand. The Nair Mister is another good choice if you want something a little bit different because it'll do force damage. And you can see there it gets an additional 1d4 force from our Shadow Cloaked Ring. It's kind of cool. But yeah, they do a good chunk of damage, and that 1d4 piercing is actually going to get doubled. I like to use Nyralna. It gives you glowing and a +3 to movement speed and jump distance, which is nice. And then we also got the Viconia's Walking Fortress here to give ourselves a bunch of extra defense. And actually, if we want to maximize the damage, we're going to go with the Steel Watcher helmet and shoot an Arrow of Darkness, and then it's going to be our little base that we can camp out with. And then it protects us, which is going to protect our Drake too, because we can have the Drake outside of it, and we're going to use a Reflective Resistance to keep them safe. And don't forget to use a spell like Aid here, which can give your Drake even further health. And if you wanted to go crazy bananas on them, you can then also use Hero's Feast to give it even 12 more health points. This can take the Drake's health up to 137. It'd be like 142 if we had another level 6 spell slot, so that's pretty good. And if you want to really do something crazy, you're going to apply Pass Without Trace on yourself, which will give you +10 to stealth checks. Then you get someone to take a Scroll of Greater Invisibility to also cast on yourself. And this means that you're going to be continually getting successes on your stealth checks. Whenever you attack from Greater Invisibility, it rolls a stealth check 15 starting at first, and then it rolls up by 1 every single time, which means you can do like 20 or so attacks without even getting spotted. In my recommendation, I have a weird mod issue related that I can't shoot these arrows, but a Darkness Arrow would be really nice to start off with. Again, I'm not sure what this mod issue is. I've been dealing with this multiple times over the last few years, and it's frustrating. But yeah, an Arrow of Darkness would go perfectly here because we could set that up and then be able to hide out. Now, we'll assume that you can use an Arrow of Darkness to make this work out properly. I'm just going to pop this down. It's nice whenever you're using a pet style build to have some form of like crowd control here. You also got the Find Familiar Raven, which could work well with this. But the trick is, obviously, to get in close for our Aura of Murder that we have. I would love to do an Arrow of Many Targets on this because that would mean the 20 damage would be chained around to multiple targets. But you're going to see here as I try to do that, again, this whatever mod breaks this, it doesn't let me use the Arrow of Many Targets. I unfortunately used my offhand attack there. I did not mean to, but you can see that we do crazy amounts of damage. Typically, you want to move in close to the targets so that you can see the... we have the Boots of Stormy Clamor, so we give reverberation whenever the Aura of Murder happens. And then we can go ahead here, which is an attack. 99% hit chance, 38, yeah, that's a lot of damage. Just taking anyone out in one shot. An Arrow of Many Targets would have been amazing here. Unfortunately, mods happen. One of the reasons I like Darkness is it protects you a lot of the times from any of the crowd control spells. I got Psionic Dominance from the Elith abilities here, which will protect our dragon from getting hit with that, which would have sucked. I felt bad for it. And it's our Drake's turn now. One of the best things you could do is it's got its Drake Breath here. So we can go ahead with using that to sometimes hit times like this where we can maybe just hit two. We're going to hit Minsk. Sorry, Minsk. But yeah, this the Lightning Breath is pretty powerful. You can also fly and use your movement speed to get carried around, and it's got the special bite attack too. What's also cool is that our dragon can do infused strikes here. This target's got 4 health left. If we use this, it does a 1d6, so we potentially will take out this target here. Only 3 damage, they have 1 health left. Of course, that's typical. Oh, we got the Arrow of Many Targets working. For some reason, if I was able to drop it, it will work now. Strange, I guess I figured it out. But you can see there why we wanted the Arrow of Many Targets. That took out 3 targets in one go. And that wasn't even like its peak form. So with Arrow of Many Targets, it's going to take that 10 damage from Sharpshooter and multiply it around to multiple targets at a time. And what this means is that whenever we're attacking, we can go ahead and we get that extra 20 damage off on all targets. For whatever reason, didn't work there. And here's the reflective resistance. So we're about to get attacked. We can pop this, give ourselves half damage from it with the resistance, which is quite nice. Rest in peace, Shadowheart. No! I'm going to use another Drake Breath here. We'll eat up a level 3 spell slot and hurt Minsk, but that's the price I'm willing to pay here to get rid of this target and break their concentration. The Drake is really good. Now, we're right up here. I'm going to use another Arrow of Many Targets. It's kind of the move. If you buy those every time you see them. Also, our Fire Glove actually blew up my unstable blood, so if you got a lot of things like that, it could potentially cause some issues. Because for some reason, Ice and Shadows will work together, but Fire ruins it. So, yeah. Arrow of Many Targets is the way, though. When we're in Darkness, we're going to get that double damage. You can see there, it can be pretty absurd. So, that is the Drakewarden Ranger in Baldur's Gate 3. I did do a different video where I didn't have all the Darkness shenanigans, so if you want to see that, you can check that one out. But I think it's good. Any type of pet style build is great because you can protect them while we're protected in the darkness and they can go around. It's great for solo, it's great for honor mode, it's great for everything. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, hit the subscribe button below, and I hope you guys all have a great day.